It is time to tune up the band and WrestleMania! It is another episode of the Sweet Chinwag podcast. I am Sam, joined alongside Dan and Riordan as we continue our journey through the wacky world of professional wrestling. Happy WrestleMania weekend, chaps. How are we doing?
WrestleMania!
WrestleMania!
I can tell we're excited. Pretty hyped. I like it. I like the energy. Anyway, we give you this podcast thanks to those lovely people over at SoundCloud, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Forever pending other platforms. And of course, if you are a devout member and listener of Project Dits, we are on there every Wednesday as well. Oh, see, it's nice to tack that little bit on the end now. It's nice. It's really nice.
Not bad.
Thank you, Dits.
All right.
Again, massively appreciated. Thank you, Dits. Anyway, before we get onto our main bulk of this episode, which is all about WrestleMania. I mean, if you didn't get it at the beginning of my terrible Vince impression.
Just in case.
Just in case you didn't know. It is time to talk about all things WrestleMania week with Dan on this week's Wrestling News.
Dun 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 dun.
Wrestling news.
How long can we just burn this joke into the ground?
I mean, we've got 2 hours.
It depends how long I can go without my throat burning out completely.
That's fair.
So obviously we're getting into WrestleMania week. Looking ahead to obviously the main card of matches. Obviously we've had NXT Stand and Deliver in the time beforehand. I love a good Adamant reference.
Same.
We all do.
It's not like they were ever going to escape from that from the moment they named it.
I don't
know how well Americans might know Adam Ant. I don't know if that's necessarily a British thing.
That's a definite new romantic thing. That's a coin flip. Absolutely. However, I will say, Dan, I will ask, because I did not get a chance to watch it. Did they introduce the Dandy Highwayman? Did they do it?
No.
Worst, terrible pay-per-view, 0 out of 10.
But they did have a giant skull on the entrance platform, which was pretty cool.
Well, because I'm not sure, but I think at the start of the musical performance that they had for it, as in like the start of the event, I think they did reference Adam Ant.
I think
but
they
I'm like
did.
not sure.
I want to say yes.
I want to say they did. Maybe it was my brain filling in blanks while I wasn't paying attention.
Your brain just wanted Adamant to make an appearance.
I mean, for people that do know me, I do like some Adamant, so...
I mean, who doesn't in this country?
I mean, of course, you have sense. Yeah. Shout out to you, Adamant. I hope you're having a good...
Dude,
I hope you're having a good day, Adamant.
Hell yes. But yeah. An action-packed 2 nights, wasn't it, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely action-packed 2 nights for NXT. First match starting off with Pete Dunne versus Kushida in a match to determine who was the better technical wrestler, or I should say strictly who was the best technical wrestler on NXT. It was a great match, as you'd expect from these two, though I don't necessarily think it achieved what it was trying to.
Yeah, given especially like how good both nights were as well. Like, this was a good opener. Any other NXT, this would have been match of the night. But for the fact that this was a good match on top of everything else, just goes to show how well we were going up on this. Fine showing from the pair of them. I don't think this is the last time we'll see them in the ring together.
No, absolutely
I feel like this
not.
sets up a bigger match for them.
I hope to be seeing them together in the NA title scene soon, because Kushida should have had it by now.
Yes.
To be fair, the same kind of goes for Pete Dunne at this point, although to be fair, Pete Dunne could easily be in the world title scene.
Yes.
But, that's kind of splitting hairs. Although I say that saying that I'm not entirely sure about the finish of the match and kind of how it was structured.
Mm-hmm. No, I can agree with that.
Because it was like to determine who's the better technical wrestler, but at least to my mind, at least a few other people that I was speaking to, they definitely would agree with me that Kushida out-wrestled Dunn on every stretch.
Yeah, and I'm massive fans of the pair of them, and it's like, even though there's a little bit of that English pride that comes with it, I'm like, yeah, come on, man, Kushida is wrestling rings around Dunn at this match.
Because it's like, yes, Pete Dunne did win, thus solidifying that case, but, like, he won by working the hands over.
Yes.
And, like, mostly just throwing strikes. Which I don't know necessarily points to best technical wrestler, but, again, I feel like I'm splitting hairs here.
I mean, there's a lot of technique in punching a man just square in the face.
I mean, that is true.
That is true.
Yeah, then we went into the next one, the 6-man eliminator match. Now, personally, this was kind of it wasn't my least favorite, because that kind of, again, is kind of split over a couple matches.
Yeah.
But I thought it was pretty good, although it was kind of, I mean, it's a 6-man match. It can only be so organized.
Exactly.
And while I liked Bronson getting the rub, I'm also not massively hot on, like, effectively just, like, finish a spam kick out points. Though I will say, Bronson Reed hitting a B driver was huge pop from me.
Yes.
Needed that in my life. I mean, Bronson Reed pulling out the All Japan women's stuff.
Yeah.
All here for that. That was amazing.
That was so cool. So freaking cool. Yeah, all of these guys really put on a good showing for what they were given. Ultimately, the result, like, I can see why they went with it, with Bronson Reed for that match. But it's that thing where it's all these guys I really want to see, like, do well. And it's like, when I came into this match, I was like, I don't want any of these guys to lose, but at the same time, I don't know who needs to win this, because these guys are all so freaking talented, and
that's really the thing, and it's kind of like going out of it. It's like, realistically, any of these people could hold the title and have a solid reign with it.
Yeah, even Leon Ruff. I will go out and say even Leon Ruff could have a solid.
Yeah, I think Leon Ruff could definitely have a hold of it. Obviously, had his short time as NA champion, and yeah, okay, he was kind of, even though he was the champion, he was kind of the side person in it. I still think he's definitely got it in him.
Yeah.
You know, I was kind of expecting maybe more of a rub on the side of Cameron Grimes or LA Knight.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is what it is, and we then went on to my match of night one, Volta versus Ciampa, which was basically, again, the amazing thing of basically it's just two guys just beating the crap out of each other.
Oh, it's so good. I love it.
Ciampa's chest looked like minced beef after the end of it.
It really did. Like, it was like fine matured mincemeat by the end of that.
Like, and I think it sparks into a thing which I love so much with Volta and the way his presentation has been kept, which is that anything can end a match.
Yeah, I was genuinely surprised that the match ended with a chop. That one put a massive surprise on me, but it also makes me slightly nervous. It's like, oh crubs, don't let the bookers get any ideas with this, because they'll now want Volta to win every match with a chop.
Yeah, because like the thing I love with Volta is that like he's got like 4 moves which can just end a match, and I have spoken out before. I've spoken to you guys about it before, about how I don't like, I guess, what I call the modern WWE style of, like, it's always, like, the one move that can finish a match.
Yeah.
Because then it always just devolves into, like, you know, matches finishing where it's like, oh, you do the finisher and then they kick out, and you just got to hit it again and again and again.
Yeah. So,
like, giving them some variety of moves and, like, a range of things that can end a match just adds a bit more drama to it.
That's why
it's also more realistic, because it's like when I was speaking to Leo London, in our interview that you can watch on our YouTube channel.
Hey.
When we were talking about the Attitude Era, he said, if I punch someone once and it doesn't do anything, I'm probably going to stop punching them and try something else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what makes him... What is why he has the term and the moniker the Ring General, is because he systematically breaks an opponent down and knows what he needs to do to put them away. He knows that he doesn't need to have one move that he needs to rely on to make sure that he puts an opponent down. And every time it doesn't work, he just does it again.
Yeah.
No, fantastic match. If anything, I really hope this really does put a hell of a lot more eyes on Volta.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the UK scene as a whole. And I don't think both of these guys came out of this in a much more, winning. Even if Ciampa lost, both of these guys came out winning.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we go into our main event of night one. Super happy to see Raquel Gonzalez versus Io Shirai main eventing. Mm-hmm. It was a good match. Certainly strong in all the right ways. Maybe a little bit odd for them to go for the Dakota Kai interference so early on.
Yeah.
But again, it did what it needed to. Long period of dominance for Shirai, making it clear about her champion status. Come through, Raquel Gonzalez one-handed powerbomb and wins, becomes the second person to hold the NXT Women's and Women's Tag Team titles, as Vic Joseph corrected himself on a night two.
Hey.
So very much enjoyed. There's Ember Moon, who was first. Don't forget that.
Mm-hmm.
No,
and now Raquel Gonzalez, NXT Women's Champion. Super happy to see. Wouldn't have predicted this at any point in the start of last year.
No, agreed. And the right choice. I'll get on to why there's a reason why I don't think there was a decision that I didn't like in night two, but for this one, striking while the iron is hot, best decision they made.
Absolutely.
Raquel Gonzalez has gone from strength to strength. I think ever since kind of like her rivalry with Rhea Ripley, it's really, really put her on the map. And
she was on my list of 2020 most improved. And when you think about it, she was only really brought into the fold of NXT kind of in July.
Yeah.
So when you think about that 6-month span and how far she had gone from that point, it's kind of crazy to see. Obviously, it remains to be seen where we go from here. I mean, I think the easy option would be Raquel Gonzalez versus Dakota Kai.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking.
I feel like that's like the easy option. Though, honestly, I mean, it's obviously hard to say. Obviously, where do they go from there now? NXT now picking up, formerly Sari, from PW Diana and Ice Ribbon, which I'm super happy to see.
Yeah, I mean,
still only 25, great talent.
Absolutely. I mean, there is a wealth of choice they've got now, especially with
they've got a whole lot of choice.
I mean, that's the amazing thing about the whole division down there. And again, the thing we always keep talking about, and the fact that they keep adding to it is just like, it's mind blowing how well that the women's division in NXT is working out for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we go on to night two, and I mean, for my mind, the right person won the first match of the night. Santos Escobar wins. People were saying, "Oh, Santos Escobar is a face. Why are they trying to get people to like him?" If you're a certain section of British fans, he was the face going into it.
Yeah, and absolutely. Look, I'll give credit where credit's due. The pair of them put on an amazing match. Both of them did phenomenally well, using the ladder in very creative ways. I will give props to the person that I'll give props to Devlin for doing the top ladder moonsault, because that is a very difficult thing to do and keep your balance doing that. But ultimately, I say great decision to keep Santos Escobar as Cruiserweight champion. He's put on such an amazing performance since becoming the champion back last year during the Cruiserweight tournament, and Legado del Fantasma have been a tremendous a tremendous little part of NXT as well as a stable. So no, great decision, great ladder match as well.
Absolutely. Going on though next, Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart retaining the women's tag titles against Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell.
I love the tag team of Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart. Like, aesthetically...
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic. They have an exact kind of energy which just identifies with me, like, perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on an aesthetic level, just the way they're both presented, it's just like, you two were destined to tag with each other. It's so cool.
So for Riordan, who I don't know that he's watched or seen Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart as a tag team.
I have not, actually.
Basically, think like modern metal meets Mad Max.
Oh God, that sounds amazing.
It's so amazing.
with just the slightest touch of David Bowie.
Yeah, that's also true. You know.
The slightest touch of David Bowie.
Because I like how one of my favorite things is how Ember Moon has the mask when she comes out, and then she's able to take it off, and then it rests on her shoulder.
Yeah,
like I think that's cool as shit.
That is so freaking cool. Talking of cool things Ember Moon did, how in the hell did she do a double eclipse to Candice? Moon.
I want to know how she figured out to do the eclipse in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I want to know how that happened.
Like, I just want to picture the process of Ember Moon, like, as an up-and-coming wrestler, thinking, like, well, I need a finisher. And people like stunners. But, like, how can I make it my own? And then going, what if I just hit one after jumping off the top rope? With a rotation.
Oh, give me a hell yeah.
And I'm just like, how do you do this? I mean, again... I feel bad for Candice LeRae.
Yeah.
She's kind of been booked into storylines where she's basically just lost constantly.
And it's Candice LeRae. That's the worst part. It's like, she's...
I want to see her at the top, but I feel like her time will come.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it might be after the way has subsided, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think it will be after it goes on its separate routes. I mean, again, I'm looking at Indy Hartwell, and she's definitely come bounds from where she was before.
Yeah.
I mean, she's under instruction of two of the, two people who have been working the independent scene for years.
Absolutely, yeah.
She's got a wealth of experience to learn from in there. So it really just remains to be seen how she'll come along, really.
Yeah.
Then going on, the North American title match, Gargano defending against Bronson Reed and retaining.
This is where I come back to the whole striking while the iron's hot, and I didn't really like this decision. I thought they should have just given Bronson Reed the rub in this match, if you ask me.
Well, honestly, I didn't really like the match that much as a whole.
Yeah, I agree. And that's bad because I've loved Gargano's matches at takeovers.
It was kind of like... Because I think it's worth saying nothing about this match was like inherently bad. It was just kind of a case of
it's there.
I don't even get it. It's kind of hard to describe, really.
I think
the best way to describe it would just be like it felt like something that was there to fill a space.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the pair of you. Like with Riordan said, it was there. And that's a big shame from the pair of them. But as I said, there was nothing inherently wrong with the match on a wrestling level, on a booking level. All of it was grand, if you ask me. It's just there was something I can't explain, can't put my finger on it as to why I wasn't so hyped for this match and why I didn't, and especially why I didn't think the decision was the best one. But I mean, we'll see, because it's that thing is I don't think Johnny Gargano really needs the North American Championship anymore. Because, it's Johnny Gargano. He's I think he's solidified himself as a legend nowadays. So I
think the thing is that there's a whole bunch of people in NXT who realistically should be at the top or holding that NA title.
Yeah.
And at this point, does Johnny Gargano necessarily need it? No. Of course, the kind of the issue is that he doesn't really have much upward mobility.
Yeah.
Because as far as we understand, he isn't interested in moving to Maine.
Fair play to him.
That's his decision. If he prefers NXT, he prefers NXT. But like I mean, for Gargano, if I'm thinking now, I'm thinking like, maybe just bump him up to kind of, perennial contender for the top title.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a bad place to be, honestly. And...
like establish him. I mean, he's the guy who's been with NXT for years now. He's been, one of the figureheads of NXT. So I think giving him that place isn't anything bad. Not even that he necessarily holds the title all the time, but make him a big deal.
Come on, I mean, the reason why he was such a big deal was that he was always gunning for that role. So, I mean, I don't think people would be bored of Gargano if he kept doing that. I certainly wouldn't be bored. I'd be 100% invested because I've always been a massive fan of Johnny Gargano's. So
yeah, and of course, it's worth saying as well that obviously with NXT they have very limited space to work with. Like one of the things they have in comparison to the main roster is they can't just stick people in the tag team.
Yeah.
Because they have an active tag team division with at least 5 teams in it. And again, it's worth saying that those tag teams absolutely came out on full show.
Yeah.
MSK, Grizzled Young Veterans, and the God of Del Fantasma had a fantastic match together.
Oh God, did they? They really did. That was a tremendous match.
My match of night 2 was Balor versus Cross.
Yeah, ultimately my favourite match on both nights.
It was absolutely fantastic. I loved the character work from Balor throughout this match.
Yeah.
I loved them including the starting stare down. Huge fan of that in wrestling, especially title matches. It just makes so much sense. It adds so much more to the psychology of it. Balor laughing in Cross's face.
Yep.
All here for that.
Cross getting even more and more pissed off with the match as it goes.
Yeah, and it did so much to establish the difference between Balor and Cross because, like, arguably you could have looked at them beforehand and said, "Oh, they're just the same person, just people who want to, fight."
Oh, and both of them have very over-the-top entrances, and I think
and they're both kind of spooky, but it did a lot to really solidify those characters that we know they have.
Yeah. I feel like this match is like, no, you know what? They're a hell of a lot more different than people make them out to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like I said, it was absolutely fantastic. We now have Karrion Kross, new NXT champion, back where he was before he got injured. So we're going to be looking at a good, probably an established title run. I'm happy they didn't lose faith in him after the injury.
Yeah, same.
We all knew once he came back, he was going straight back into that fold.
Yep.
And of course, again, it's a question of where does Balor go from here?
That is the question I had in my mind as well. Is like, now that Balor's done this, it's like, does he stay in NXT? I mean, he could go to the main roster, but that is a terrible choice if you ask me. No.
Yeah, it's just kind of a matter of like, obviously, where does he go? Where does he go from here now? But no, Karrion Kross, fantastic. NXT has a whole spate of talent that will be ready to go up against him, solidifying that position, solidifying the NXT title.
Yeah.
Obviously, hopefully by the time the next Survivor Series rolls around, we'll have NXT in there as well again.
Mm-hmm.
Again, though, like, think about it in that vein. If we had a NXT main roster Survivor Series, and say you had, let's just say it is like it is now: Karrion Kross versus Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns.
Oh, yes, please.
Jesus.
And in Karrion Kross, I want to shoot on the pair of them.
Or Karrion Kross, Drew McIntyre, and I mean, let's just for the sake of it say Daniel Bryan.
Now I'm salivating.
That's already so much out there. And you look at the NXT Championship scene. I mean, you've got Kyle O'Reilly, Cameron Grimes could make the step up. You could even potentially start bringing someone like Roderick Strong into the fold.
Yeah.
They've got so much talent built up in there.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's going to go that way if the main event of night 2 is anything to go by.
Yeah, so obviously we got to the main event, Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly in the unsanctioned match.
Right, before you go on,
I'm going to be here and say, to my mind, this match went too long.
Yes, no, agreed. The first point I want to bring across, though, is how generic as heck both of these guys' themes are now. Because I'm guessing with the divorce of the Undisputed Era, none of them could have the theme song.
Well, because the thing is that Adam Cole's one reminded me of the theme song he used to have. I want to say in Ring of Honor, I can't remember for the life of me. Something for You is the song.
Yes, yeah.
But it sounds like someone else described that song to someone else on the phone and then said, okay, make this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there was definitely a bit of telephone going on in trying to understand it. And then for Kyle O'Reilly, it's like, I feel like he should have more. I mean, I know people have spoken a lot about Death Rebel's current spate of themes, and they put out some good ones. Like Io Shirai's is pretty damn great. So they obviously have it in them to do it.
Yeah.
Was it like they were given just like 1 week to do it or something?
I guess this is kind of the way the argument of like maybe this is where Tony Khan has a one-up on them is a little bit. It kind of shines on this one because at least Tony Khan has the deep pockets to license songs to people.
Well, it's the licensing songs, but for AEW, I think that Ruckus is of the mind of Jim Johnston in that he works with the talent to create them.
Yeah. Agree.
Rather than just saying, hey, we need music for this person, go and do it. But no. Still, we'll get over to the main section now. WrestleMania 37. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out the matches. I want you to give me your predictions.
Oh, crumbs. Oh, by the way, as we said, as just like an ending, a TLDR, match was great, by the way, that unsanctioned match. Great, too damn long. It suffered the same fate as Edge and Orton from last year's Mania.
Yeah, it just went too far.
Anyway, yes, Mania.
And yeah, also, context of this, by the time that this episode gets released, the matches will have happened, so you can tell us how wrong we were.
Yes, please do.
Yes.
Please do. This is going to be so much fun.
First match, Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre.
Opening as well, which is great. Which is a great way to open it.
Difficult to say, but something in my gut tells me they're going to screw the poops and Bobby Lashley's going to lose.
Yeah, I feel like the way they've set this whole thing up, it's like... Yeah, I feel like they want to have Drew win with a crowd, and what better way to do it than the opener?
That's when I was talking to the lovely Frank Mandolini for the Last Minute Wrestling podcast, I said I'm expecting them to give it to Drew so he can be in front of fans for a win.
But I feel like this, if that's the case, then why do... I think it was a dunderheaded decision to just split up the Hurt Business.
Welcome to Raw's booking for the the entire pandemic period.
Why split them up if they were going to set up Bobby to lose to Drew? They could have made Bobby still stronger as ever if he had lost at WrestleMania. Keep the Hurt Business as they have, and I guess the storyline from that point on would be all of them gunning for Drew to make sure that Bobby wins the championship again. But I'm not a booker, apparently.
Yeah, but not yet. We'll find a way to snake our way into some promotion or something. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus The Miz and John Morrison. My prediction, Bad Bunny and Damian Priest win and Bad Bunny gets the pinfall.
Yeah, no, exactly how I'm thinking. So,
yeah.
A Bad Bunny with a top rope dive to The Miz.
Yes. The New Day versus AJ Styles and Omos. My real prediction is that AJ and Omos win. My super far-fetched one is that they lose and then Omos turns on AJ.
I for some reason, I feel the New Day retaining. For some reason.
My heart is saying the New Day retaining with a Mortal Kombat entrance, may I add, as well, for WrestleMania.
Most likely.
Yeah.
But my head is going AJ and Omos.
Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon. My prediction is that Shane McMahon tries to injure himself and then Braun Strowman wins.
Yes.
I agree with everything, but I think Shane McMahon does a crappy win by some kind of loophole.
I was also there. I was doing something else. I said, if I want to be stupid with it, it goes to a no contest.
Yeah,
contest steel cage match.
Actually, you know what? Yeah.
One of two things will happen if you ask me. Shane McMahon will do a shooting star press off the top of the steel cage, or Braun Strowman will spear Shane through the cage wall. Or do the Strowman Express through the cage wall. Get
that Bobby Lashley versus Umaga spot.
Exactly.
Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. Cesaro wins.
Cesaro.
I think he loses.
Yeah, I mean, I know where you're coming from in that regard.
I mean, like, really Seth Rollins is like arguably the most protected person in WWE.
Yeah. And thing is, but it's like we all know, we all three of us, and Joseph Montecillo, we had that episode that literally turned into a Cesaro episode.
Yeah, I mean, we were going to be talking Cesaro, so it's going to happen.
Cesaro
tag team turmoil match. My prediction is that Natalya and Tamina win, but it should be the Riot Squad.
My dream prediction would be for Carmella to turn on Billie Kay, Peyton Royce to run down and make the save for Billie Kay, and the Iconics are reformed in the midst of Tamina and Natalya winning the match.
Pretty much.
That is my dream.
Hey, WWE. Give the Riot Squad the women's tag titles. Please. Just do it finally.
Riordan, what are you thinking?
Oh, do you want me to read out the teams who are in it? Because I've already.
No, I'm looking at it.
Okay.
Give it to the Riot Squad, for the love of God.
There we go. Again, give it to the Riot Squad, though I see it going to Natalya and Tamina. Although I will say, the Tamina push has actually been pretty solid so far.
Surprisingly.
Asuka versus Rhea Ripley. I predict Rhea Ripley winning.
Yeah. Rhea needs that win. Rhea really needs that win.
The Fiend with Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton. My prediction is The Fiend wins through spooky bollocks.
Yep.
Why this isn't a Firefly Funhouse match, I will never know.
It's not?
I would have loved
because they're doing it live with a crowd.
They're
going to want it in arena. They wouldn't go and do anything aside. It's stupid because it should be a Firefly Funhouse match, but it isn't.
I feel like this would have been a perfect kind of sequel to that. You get the two big stars that broke through in 2002, kind of what came up through the business and through WWE at around the same time. That would have been beyond perfect, but we get. I mean,
Randy Orton's actually self-aware, so it would actually work.
Absolutely, it would have worked.
Okay, Big E versus Apollo Crews in the Nigerian drum match. My prediction is Big E wins, and there's something to do with a drum in the middle of the match.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want there to be at least a sort of Nigerian military procession of drums somewhere. During the match.
Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn with Logan Paul at ringside. Kevin Owens wins.
Yes. Moving on.
Kevin Owens hopefully does the exact same thing to Logan Paul that he did to Machine Gun Kelly and powerbombs him.
This is the moment where finally WWE let Kevin Owens do the package pile driver.
Please.
Preferably he does it to Sami Zayn in front of Logan Paul, terrifying him for life. Matt Riddled versus Sheamus. My prediction: Sheamus wins.
Sheamus wins.
Oh, you think so? Really?
Yes.
Yeah. I say Sheamus.
All right.
I see our
Nia
fella.
Jax and Shayna Baszler with Reginald versus whoever wins the tag team turmoil. If we're predicting Natalya and Tamina, I imagine Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler will retain.
Yeah.
If it's the Riot Squad, then the Riot Squad will win.
If it's the Riot Squad should absolutely win and get their WrestleMania moment. If it's Natalya and Tamina, they arguably should, but I just don't feel like they'd give them the titles.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman and no mention of either Uso versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan. My prediction, I'm going to go Daniel Bryan by doing something. Oh, it's either going to be Daniel Bryan or Edge, and Roman Reigns isn't going to be involved in the finish, and both of the Usos will get involved.
Yeah. For some reason, I feel my brain says Edge.
My brain is saying Edge as well.
Daniel Bryan is because it's funny because like both Daniel Bryan and Edge are on borrowed time, and both have admitted it and both have said it. But I think of the borrowed time, Daniel Bryan has less of it, so it goes to Edge.
That I kind of agree with you 100% on that. Like, would it be great to see Bryan win? Oh god, it always is great to see Bryan win. Like, I want Bryan. I mean, I would not be fussed, and I would love to see Bryan win. Who doesn't? But my mind is going more towards Edge on this one because he's been truly outstanding this entire program.
In my mind, if we came into this and Daniel Bryan had won the Rumble, I would say Daniel Bryan to win for certain. Although I am certain that it's going to change hands without Roman Reigns being involved in the finish, and then Roman Reigns is just going to spend like weeks talking about how he wasn't pinned or he didn't tap.
Yeah.
So there you go. Those are our predictions for WrestleMania 37. Oh,
wait, no,
more. We forgot the most important main event from night
I thought you were doing a thing.
Shit, I did. Sorry, Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair.
No, it's Bianca's.
It's got to be Bianca's.
It's got to be Bianca's year.
It has to be. I mean,
there's no way they can. They've got the most natural all-American babyface in recent company history. Mm-hmm. And she won the Rumble.
Yeah.
It has to be.
It has to be. No. Like, you're not... No, you're listening... Like, I'm grabbing my microphone here, Vince. You need to listen to me. It has to be Bianca Belair. You hear me? You crotchety old man. It's gotta be Bianca.
It's gotta be Bianca.
That's gotta be Kane.
Shout out to WWE for actually giving them the main event spot. It's a shame it took until like 2 days before the event to find that out.
And of course was announced by the person who invented women's wrestling, Stephanie McMahon, of course.
You're getting us cancelled.
To be fair, he is quoting Stephanie McMahon's words.
Yep.
Don't
shoot the messenger.
Every time I hear that, just my body just causes aggressive breathing.
Yeah, no, agreed. That mustered a lot for me to say that. Should we move on quickly?
So let's move on to the main. Yeah, let's move on to the main bulk of the episode now. We're done with the news and the predictions, and tell us how wrong we were.
Indeed. For that is going to be funny when I start editing that and when I upload it on Monday. Anyway, before we get into the main bulk of all things WrestleMania, our recommendation corner, and I'm getting these two back for this one. For they did it during my birthday. Happy birthday, Dan!
Yay!
Day of birth.
No, it's everyone who listens to this. The day we're recording this on the Saturday is Dan's birthday. So when this gets uploaded, please make sure to send Dan all the lovely birthday wishes. He is a tireless worker who has basically made the Sweet Chinwag kind of what it is through his amazing social media presence. So I am in debt to the work that you do.
I want all of you on Twitter. I want all of you on Twitter to send Dan nothing but the sands of time slowly ebbing out.
I thought you were going to say money as well.
Two things. First off, every year for my birthday when I do a post on social media, I try and attach a song to it that references like how old I am for context. Now 24.
Damn.
So for everyone else in our, at least our immediate friend group, I'm basically a small child.
Yes.
And I am the elder statesman. Good God.
But I was trying to do it this year, and I was like, I can't think of a song that's got the number 24 in it.
It's a shame
The only song that was ever coming to my head was 24 Hours from Tulsa, and I was like, well, that's just delightfully ominous. That makes me sound like I'm going to die.
It'll do.
Crash Holly's theme. There you go, because he was hardcore champion and invoked the 24/7 rule. There you go.
Yeah.
Wrestling
My
related.
side one, for anyone that wants to and feels like doing it, if you get me a cameo from Nick Gage, I'll love you for the rest of my life.
You hear that first. Someone who immediately gets that.
Side note from the collective, Nick Gage versus John Moxley, by the way.
Yes, but I am so excited for that. Like, you would not believe. I am going to be watching a lot of the collective when we're done with this recording. So,
dude, I wanted to report on the collective here, and I was like, "There's just so much going on." If you want my recommendation from the collective, Daniel Garcia versus Kevin Koo.
Oh,
Absolutely fantastic match, and then Rich Swann versus Too Cold Scorpio for the culture.
Yes, I was going to say that as well. Amazing match. Go out and watch it. We will be doing an episode on Too Cold Scorpio in the future. That's for damn sure.
We're going to be doing one on that, and then probably next week we'll do the full rundown of the collective because there's like 15 shows to go through.
Yeah. And we do not have enough time here. Anyway, that's all things done with Recommendation Corner, and now we go on to our main bulk, all things WrestleMania. So I'm going to start out with the question that kind of most people start when they talk about WrestleMania on podcasts. Gentlemen, what do you think makes a good WrestleMania?
Oh, God. Oh, that's so difficult. Dan, it's on you, birthday boy.
Yeah, so obviously with like what makes a good WrestleMania is like something that obviously is constantly shifting about.
Yeah.
Because I think for me, WrestleMania should always be about the drama. Because like that's what it is. It's basically like it's the big event of the year. So it's the thing where you have to you can pull out all the stops.
Absolutely.
You know, you can just go as crazy as you really want with it, and people be like, "Well, it's WrestleMania."
Yeah, for me, it's the grand culmination of every kind of subsequent feud, sub-feud, and big title defenses all in one night. And I think that's that's always been the one true constant for every single WrestleMania. Maybe less so with the kind of this new era of WrestleManias that have no numbers on them, but I've always felt that that's what kind of the main sticking point for WrestleMania has been, and that's what's always made a good WrestleMania, is how all of those storylines are neatly wrapped up.
Yeah. It's like WrestleMania is like the thing where everything kind of comes to a head, and then you kind of deal with the fallout afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the season finale. So if you have a bad season finale, people get angry.
Let's not talk about the ending of Lost or Game of Thrones, shall we?
I was actually gonna literally just leave it there. And
guess what? All the wrestlers were dead all along.
God. So yeah, that is the main thing. Yeah. So there's two things for a good WrestleMania for me. The obvious, actually good matches.
Yep.
Because a bad WrestleMania match hurts even more due to the second thing, which is I want to see big budget guys.
Yeah.
By any means necessary.
And also, I feel like the pageantry as well.
Yeah.
Like if you and there have been WrestleManias where they have kind of cheapened out on the pageantry, and I feel that has cost them dearly for it. I mean, we talk about the new gen's spate of WrestleManias. I think that really cost them on that part. But I feel like when they really put the effort in, it shows, and it really does make the event a hell of a lot better. Like, come on, like, I could sit here and talk forever about set designs, but some of the most iconic ones have really, really set those WrestleManias apart as being the best ones. I mean, gosh, what can I say? WrestleMania 33, the roller coaster set was still truly, a lot of people still think of that as the best set that they've ever had. And for quite rightly, it's such an iconic looking set. WrestleMania 24 at the same stadium, I thought was a really striking set.
Yeah. I am a big fan of WrestleMania 30's Mardi Gras.
Oh, crumbs, yeah. I mean,
it's just such a pretty...
I feel like the aesthetic choice of having the fleur-de-lis kind of like in conjunction with the three X's was just like, that is an amazing look.
Yeah, it's so great.
So great. Okay, so chaps, a little question here as we get rocking on. What was your first ever WrestleMania? Okay,
so as is everything, the concept of time is nebulous and forever changing. But my brain says that my first ever WrestleMania was WrestleMania 2021. WrestleMania 21, I would say, is the one that I paid the most attention to. So I would say WrestleMania
goes Hollywood.
Yes, WrestleMania goes Hollywood.
I like that set design, being that it looks like a cinema marquee.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that The Miz wasn't there at that time, eh?
I love the build-up on that WrestleMania when they were doing parodies of famous Hollywood scenes as the adverts for that WrestleMania. My favourite being...
That's the kind of thing that I think is great, and I don't know why they stopped doing it.
I loved Eddie and Booker doing the Pulp Fiction one. That was my favourite one.
My personal favourite is... was this the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania? I think it was the Royal Rumble. It was Royal Rumble, damn. Because I was thinking of the Royal Rumble West Side Story. So
yeah, that was the same year, though. So it kind of... I will give you that one, because it kind of makes sense.
All I'm saying is, if you for anyone who hasn't seen it, go watch the promotion from this, the two of them, which are the taxi driver one.
Yes.
Because it's so delightfully stupid.
Especially Big Show's parts.
I don't know. There's something about seeing like Tajiri and Rey Mysterio do the "you talking to me" line.
Yes.
I don't know what it is.
But
also the Triple H Braveheart, which arguably for me replaced Mel Gibson in Braveheart.
Yes.
Oh my goodness!
I tell you, he suited William Wallace far too well. Triple H did.
Like, it is incredibly stupid, but it's also amazing.
Also, shout outs to Taker for doing Dirty Harry as well.
What a choice!
Oh, and Stone Cold as Gladiator.
Yeah, the Stone Cold as Gladiator always kind of like, who thought of that one for him?
I mean, he's no MF Doom. Let's be honest. No. Rest in peace, MF Doom.
Rest in peace, all caps when you say his name.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. My one, I'm going to cheat a little bit on this one. So, technically, my very first WrestleMania was one before I was even born. And that WrestleMania...
Okay, because he was gonna be the thing, right? Because I feel like my first WrestleMania that I've seen and then the first one I watched live are two very different WrestleManias.
Yeah.
So my first one that I saw was WrestleMania 6, but only because my brother had the Silvervision VHS tape that he bought on that. So that one was Hogan Warrior.
Yeah, we're on the same thing here. We're going to be doing the same shtick.
So I remember that one vividly. But no, the very first one I watched was WrestleMania 2000 or 16. You know, the McMahon in every corner main event, and the one that only had, I believe, one singles match. But that did give us. I think the one memory that stands out for me on that WrestleMania, and I'll get a little bit more into it as well when we come to it, is the Triangle Ladder match. which was absolutely outstanding, of the Dudleys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian tearing the house down.
I just remembered what the one singles match from that WrestleMania was, and I'm in pain.
Yeah, we don't talk about that one. Anyway, Dan, first WrestleMania.
Yeah, so again, here's going to be the thing. The first WrestleMania I ever saw was, in fact, WrestleMania 2000. Because my brother had it on VHS.
Oh my dear God. Too much mirroring.
Because when WrestleMania 2000 first came out, I was far too young to even know what wrestling was.
That is fair.
The first WrestleMania I watched live was after I had kind of had my first big time properly getting into wrestling, and it was actually WrestleMania 24.
Well, there you go, and not a bad WrestleMania to actually watch live as is.
Because with the previous ones, I had obviously seen them, but I always had like the DVD or whatever. But WrestleMania 24 was the first one I watched live as it was happening.
Great Money in the Bank ladder match that had in, as well as the amazing match between Taker and Edge. As well,
it had the match between Taker and Edge. It had Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels with like the most emotional wrestling moment possibly ever created.
We had Floyd Mayweather versus Big Show in what probably is the best celebrity match ever.
It is without question the best celebrity match ever.
Oh no, something hits different about Floyd Mayweather hitting the Big Show with a chair.
And of course,
I'm sorry, Paul.
And of course, came to as much shock to Josh Robinson, our dear friend, that Kim Kardashian was in this WrestleMania.
Yes, she was.
Back up. She was?
Yes,
only in one segment as a backstage announcer and getting cut off by Mr. Kennedy.
Mr. Kennedy?
I remember Mr. Kennedy, and also that is... I love it. I love everything about that.
So bizarre, isn't it? And I believe John Legend did America the Beautiful that year as well.
He did. Good choice.
Not a bad choice at all. Alright.
At the height of his power as well, John Legend. Anyway.
Yeah, I believe that would have been with a white grand piano as well, I believe, on that one. Anyway, so before we head on into our best and worst WrestleManias, I feel like we need to section one Mania off, as everyone has kind of unanimously agreed that this probably is the best WrestleMania ever. And let's talk about, for a little bit, WrestleMania 17. Now, I don't know if you chaps have gone back and watched this one in previous years, or if you've seen YouTube videos talking about this year, but I'll give you a little bit of context as we're heading into WrestleMania 17. So, WWE or WWF at this time have finally been able to get back on track as to where they were in the height of the golden age in the 80s, after being absolutely trounced by WCW in the ratings and the Monday Night Wars. A week prior to this, Vince McMahon had brought out WCW and subsequently ECW in the coming weeks. So as we were heading into WrestleMania, what was the three big companies in America only dwindled to one big company, and that was, of course, WWF. It's amazing when I look back and then remember, oh crap, yes, that Raw, the Raw before WrestleMania, was the Raw Nitro simulcast and the last episode of Nitro.
Wow,
it's
I did not realize that.
mind-blowing, because I remember that. I don't know if you guys saw that live as is, but I remember that night vividly of watching that, because it sticks in my brain, because it was such a mind-blowing sight to see, of seeing Raw and Nitro on the same broadcast, and Vince McMahon opening up Nitro going, the very fate of WCW is in my hands.
It's WrestleMania 17 is the best WrestleMania, but I find it interesting on that even if it wasn't, it would certainly be the single most important WrestleMania in history.
Absolutely.
Because I find it really fascinating historically, because this WrestleMania is like as you said, like a week. Like Jesus, I didn't realize it was that close.
Yeah.
Because it's like WrestleMania 17 is the pinpoint moment WWF becomes for all intents and purposes, a monopoly.
Yeah, I feel like...
Yeah, pretty much.
I feel of this as well, like, not only with that, but I feel this is the real kind of, like, boom, the stamp of this is the end of the Attitude Era as we know it.
It is the end of the Attitude Era as we know it, but it's also... It's the only WrestleMania, even, like, as big as it is, as big as, like, you know, the pageantry and all, like, the money that gets thrown. This is the WrestleMania where it is a mark of just pure supremacy. WWF has won. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah.
It is the only game in town, and it's putting all of its power to attempt to make the greatest show on earth. And the funny thing is, just due to the talent that they had and the storylines that they had, they succeeded.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like even if it was a bad WrestleMania, it wouldn't matter, which I think it is, which is something that only that WrestleMania can say. It could have been the worst WrestleMania, and it just would not have mattered because they'd won.
Yeah, I think honestly that kind of adds to the legacy.
Absolutely. Like, absolutely. It's just, oh man, like, I could go on forever about it. I'll give you a little few facts here. So this was the first WrestleMania where they were back to being in stadiums. So, because since, I would say, 1993 up until 2000, they had to shrink down into arenas because people just weren't buying tickets anymore. People were kind of switching over to WCW, and then, of course, like, the new generation happened, and they did come a point where they almost
didn't
ran
have
out of
the
business.
demand to fill, like, stadiums. So I think, like, the capacity for the stadium had for X7 was something like 67,000.
Yeah, so the attendance was, record-breaking attendance for the Reliant Astrodome of 67,925. Grossed them, including merchandise sales, I believe $3.5 million. And the highest buy rate WWE F and /E have ever had, with 1,040,000 pay-per-view buys for this. And they've never hit that height since.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of that is headlined as well by the two biggest stars that kind of superseded their fame out of wrestling in Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, especially since this was The Rock who was about to become the big pop culture icon that he would eventually become.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk. I mean, I would go run down the card, but have a go and have a watch of it yourself. I mean, if you've seen a lot of videos, they will talk about how short these matches are, but how bloody consistent they all are down the card.
There's a weird mix of like, you have like obviously the main event, which is the longest match of the night, and then you kind of have a couple like 10-minute plus matches, then a couple like 7-8 minute joints, and then there's like a bunch of 2-minute joints in there as well. Yeah,
I mean, I'll run down the card. We had the technical.
I just want to say that for people going here, you can watch one of mine. And one of Butcher from Damn It Vince's, and also, fun fact, Luke Owens from Wrestle Talk's favourite match of all time, Kane versus Raven versus Big Show.
Yes!
For the hardcore title.
Which Raven almost knocked the power out of the entire stadium.
It just makes it even better when you know that fact.
So, I'm thinking, wasn't it like a backstage segment, and Raven went into a golf cart?
It's where the match gets taken backstage, and then to try and take out the Big Show, the Raven gets in a golf buggy, and instead of trying to he tries to turn towards the Big Show, but messes up the turning circle and just crashes into a wire fence, which had the electric cable running next to it.
Oh could you have imagined just a slight little kind of inch here or inch there, and Raven would have completely ruined WrestleMania 17?
The entire WrestleMania 17 set. Which for me makes Raven even more goated, because he almost did that.
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, again, talking of other matches here, we have Angle versus Benoit in what was considered one of the greatest technical masterpieces of Mania. Great match if you seek out of it, but of course it is marred with a lot of darkness because of the person who's in there. Shane McMahon versus Vince in a quite solid street fight, believe it or not, with Mick as guest referee.
It's a really solid match.
To which Linda McMahon gets the biggest pop in her entire life when she stood up from her catatonic state, or vegetative state, I should say.
I'm just going to address this while we're here. That entire storyline was weird as hell, and it's incredibly uncomfortable going back to.
It's uncomfortable in a way that only the Attitude Era can provide.
It's so
I don't even know. It's not even in like the normal Attitude Era sense. It's just disturbing, period.
You know what makes me laugh is that Linda McMahon used clips from that rivalry and that whole kind of storyline in her election campaign video.
It's a choice.
You're telling me it's a fucking choice.
Oh my god.
And of course we talk about TLC 2. Come on, that match.
TLC 2 goes so hard.
TLC 2. What if we tried to kill ourselves, but even more this time?
Yes. Jeff and Edge thought, you know what, that ladder spot we did last year's Mania wasn't good enough. How can we do it? We'll have you hanging off the belt, Jeff, with no ladder, and I'll just kind of yoink you down to the ground.
I don't even know. I think the better thing with this one is just how they go insane with the run-ins.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Rhino, Spike, and Lita running for each subsequent team, and it's amazing.
It's just like every time you think the match is about to calm down, they're just like, Rhino, get out of there now.
The Dudley Dog Spike did through the table was insane.
That goes so hard.
And of course, and again, we talk about the greatest match that we had throughout this WrestleMania card was the gimmick battle royale when Rich the Iron Sheik won.
Amen.
Now, fun fact about this, Iron Sheik, there are two fun facts about Iron Sheik here. When Iron Sheik went to put on his tights and then went to put the belt on that kind of keeps his tights up, the belt snapped, so he had to use gaffer tape to tape his tights up. And the only reason he won the match is because he was so kind of like unable to kind of really walk and take bumps that they were having him not go over the top rope in any way, shape or form.
That's fair.
Sheik stays winning.
So the people who are in this gimmick battle royale, right? So we have Iron Sheik, Hillbilly Jim, the Bushwhackers, Duke the Dumpster Drosy, Doink the Clown, Nikolai Volkov, Tugboat, The Goon, Earthquake, The Gobbledygooker, Brother Love, Michael Hayes, One Man Gang, Kamala, Kim Chi, Jim Cornette, The Repo Man, and Sergeant Slaughter.
Hold tight the Repo Man, by the way.
Yes. That is a who's who of, dear God, how did we get these guys in our company?
That is a who's who of the reasons we started this podcast, because oh my god.
Again, just going off the back of that, if you want to watch a real sleeper match on this Mania, people forget about Eddie Guerrero versus Test.
Yes.
For the European title.
Yes.
That match goes hard.
That match does go hard and then some. And a great debut match as well for Eddie at Mania. And he would only get bloody better with each subsequent Mania as well, which was... Damn, Eddie. You're too damn good.
Damn, Eddie.
And of course, the main event of Steve Austin versus The Rock, which is, not only did it have the best hype package to begin with,
Oh God! Every time I see it in my brain, I just get more hype.
I love the fact now that you think you're special has become a meme within the wrestling community. No, an amazing hype package, and I tell you this much, man. Like, props to where props are given to Adam Panucci, the post-production guy behind WWF, and the guy who edited that video, because damn, he did an amazing job with that.
Props to whoever decided to use My Way by Limp Bizkit, because it's basically the only thing I could imagine going for at this point.
Exactly. And this is when Limp Bizkit were actually really popular as well.
Yeah.
Hey, look,
I can't believe you'd ever say like that at one point that they aren't still now.
I mean, at one point, we all at least either had a copy or borrowed a friend's copy of Chocolate Starfish and the hot dog flavored water.
Oh God, no.
I still have mine.
Nice. And
it's like semi-ironically, but sometimes like when I'm working out, I am like, you know what? I'll just throw some Limp Bizkit on.
Move in and move out, heads up and head down. Yeah. But this match, man. Great match from these two. The second time they would subsequently meet at WrestleMania, part of their beloved trilogy of matches. Not their best match in this trilogy, but an absolute solid one. And honestly, I think they had to make the decision in Texas for Steve Austin to win. Albeit, they were never going to boo Steve Austin, even if he turned heel and did side with Vince McMahon in this one.
Yeah, they were in Texas.
It's such a weird end to a WrestleMania, even for that. But yeah, listen, they're in Texas and it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's never going to get booed.
Of course
out of
he
your mind.
Is. I mean, great line from Jim Ross at the end of that. He sold his soul to the devil.
Yeah, it's a great line. But he's not going to sell. He's not going to get booed in London, let alone in Texas.
Exactly. Fun little fact about this one: The Rock. Now, he was booked to Blade in this match, and he actually ended up dropping his blade when he kind of fell arse over tit over the steel steps, and Earl Hebner had to pick it up for him. But no, the fun fact about this is that The Rock was told by his agent to not blade deep, because a week later he would have to go off and shoot The Mummy Returns.
Yes.
So it was like, you blade and you make yourself have a big scar, you're off this picture.
Oh dear.
So that's the reason why Rock has kind of like a little trickle of blood, and then it just like quickly disappears at the end of the match.
I don't know. Something about it that though is just like picture him there being like, okay, the spot's happening to Blade. He's like, oh shit, I've got to film the Mummy after this.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm going to blade a little.
It's a shame he never came back for the reboot of the Mummy. That's all I'll say.
It's just like, you know, like when you leave your house and you're like you haven't closed the door yet, and you're like, shit, I don't have my keys.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I've got to do this. Wait, not too much, just a little bit.
Now, again, I feel like this Mania, it just has everything going right for it. It was at the height of its zeitgeist, I'd say. All the matches were absolutely solid, booked incredibly well. Even I would say the squash match with China and Ivory.
I think it was fitting though, because I mean, in the context of that match, the rest of Right to Censor were removed from ringside.
Exactly.
So like, you could at least get enough of a sense. You're like, oh well, Ivory's so used to having matches where they interfere.
Yeah.
That conceivably, if she goes one-on-one with China, try to absolutely demolish her because it's China.
Yeah. However, yeah, I will kind of say, like, I do get why Ivory was so angry with China for that pin.
Yeah.
That pin. Even though it's like, I really like the pin, but when I heard that like Ivory wasn't aware of that pin, yeah, I would have bumped out and made her do it properly.
Yeah, no, I agree on that one. But with everything so nice, tightly packed, it's WWE have never been able to capture that true magic that 17 has since.
They can't.
And I know, agreed. I don't think they ever will.
Well, yeah, I think a big thing is obviously I think part of it is obviously going to that point of it's the grand culmination of everything. And I mean, we look at it and we go like, was it the best of the trilogy of the Rock Austin matches? Which I think just speaks highly enough of the entire concept around it.
Exactly.
That we're looking at it and going, well, it's not the best of the three. It's still pretty good though.
Yeah. No, agreed.
But also that like with how wrestling is and how at least I think WWE's booking is. And how they now see, wrestlers and characterization in this modern period. I don't know that we can get back there.
No, you could get close. I don't think you could ever get the same level ever again, though.
Yeah, no, I honestly think it's kind of like, stick with me here. WrestleMania 17 is like modern day Simpsons. The world has changed. No, the world has changed so much that the actual infrastructure to do that is just not there anymore.
No, that is quite a good summation of that. A very good summation, indeed. Alrighty then, chaps. What are your favourite WrestleManias in all 37 WrestleManias that we will have come Monday when this is uploaded? What are your absolute top tier favourites?
Absolute top tier favourites. I gotta go boring and go for WrestleMania 24.
Yeah, no doubt.
With just because it has Shawn Michaels and versus Ric Flair, possibly the greatest. Possibly the greatest match that WWE has ever done and ever will do. I
don't know that WWE can ever intentionally create a moment like the finish of that match ever again.
No.
Never. I mean, like, now granted, they tried to do it 2 years later, and that is emotional for all different reasons as well.
Yes.
But man, the emotion that this match had. The fact that Ric Flair pulled off a crossbody for the first time in his entire career. He actually did a top rope move and it worked. No, this match is truly outstanding as well. Like, such a good Mania. And I mean, as we talked about it, man, even after that, a very solid Money in the Bank match. Punk was the absolutely right choice to win that match.
He was absolutely the right choice to win.
We had Floyd Mayweather versus Big Show in possibly, as we all say, our favourite celebrity wrestling match of all time.
No, it has no business being as entertaining as it is.
Taker versus Edge in what I think is one of Taker's best WrestleMania main events that he put on during the streak. Think it's up there. And I think it birthed us the moment of the running, sprinting Charles Robinson, which is become become legend now.
He was booking it so hard.
I want someone to book it as fast towards me as Charles Robinson did to that ring. I want to be.
Who do I need to speak to?
Fun fact: Charles Robinson, big horror fan. Really? Apparently, he has his own. He has his own horror dungeon that puts Guillermo del Toro's to shame.
What?
Yeah, believe it or not, check it out.
No way! Oh my god!
YouTube, Charles Robinson's horror collection. It's amazing.
Wow.
My favourites. 24, obviously top tier. I'm gonna put 10 up there as well. I'm not recently. Well, I actually went back this week and I watched 10. But the first time I watched 10 would have been 2004 when 20 was around, because I wanted like the context of how different WrestleManias had been from 10 up to 20. I had watched that and I was absolutely blown away by it. Now, granted, we had, the whole thing with Lex Luger and Yokozuna, but it had the greatest opening match of all WrestleManias in Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, which is a true technical masterpiece.
That match goes so crazy.
And I love, there's a little moment where Owen...
Wasn't it the opener on that Mania?
That was the opener of that Mania, believe it or not.
It kind of astounds me knowing Owen Hart's thoughts on wrestling. that he's like, yeah, I'm just going to do this and then I'm just going to leave. And I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah. There's a little moment I genuinely like in this match where Owen kind of like foot rakes Brett in the face, just a little bit too overzealous, and Brett goes, "Oi, fucking stop it!"
That's such a "you're my brother" moment.
It's just the thing of like Brett with like his back pressed to the mat, just like pointing up at him.
Yeah, it's just I love it because it's an overhead shot as well, so you get the full face of Brett looking pissed at his brother. But this also had the unified Intercontinental title ladder match with Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, which are now, look, given what we know and how much like the Hardys had revolutionized the ladder match with the Dudleys and Edge and Christian, this seems a little bit more tame in comparison, but I would still rate it highly as a terrific ladder match.
Very good match. Although I must ask, do you think that he kind of sits at home, watches some of like... Do you think I can imagine him sitting at home watching the WrestleMania 16 and 17 matches and going, "What have I done?"
Yes. He should feel ashamed of himself, Shawn Michaels should. I'm just kidding. And of course, I'll take a little shout out and give my love to 19 as well. I love 19. One of the very first ones I bought on DVD. I loved the look of it. The Safeco Field was an amazing choice for that. It looked absolutely outstanding. Some great matches in there as well. We had, of course, Matt Hardy versus Rey Mysterio in his very first WrestleMania. We had Trish Stratus versus Victoria and Jazz in a very solid triple threat match for the Women's Championship. Shawn Michaels versus Jericho, the match that really stole the show. Booker T and Triple H, we've talked about that match for a lot on this podcast. We don't need to talk about that. Hogan and Mr. McMahon in McMahon's best match in a street fight, and that very famous...
Fair, that match has like some of Hogan's like biggest bumps.
Yes, McMahon and that very famous image of McMahon peering over the ring, and just the bloodied face of him with that smile on his face.
Dude, McMahon hardcore.
Yep.
McMahon hardcore. Say what you will about the man. Seriously, say what you will. The man knows how to interact with a camera.
And of course, we talk about like the greatest one in the Stone Cold and Rock trilogy, and the main event, which I feel kind of gets remembered, of course, for that one infamous spot, but was up until that point was genuinely a fantastic match. A fantastic match from the pair of them, and not their best match, because of course their Iron Man match on SmackDown is without question their best match. But God, these two are so bloody good together. Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar are.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're two people that kind of understood how each other worked.
Without question. Dan, what is your favourite WrestleManias?
So, I'm probably going to be starting off with an odd one for me, and I don't even know if this is just the whole WrestleMania, but I just want to give a shout out to the match, because it was one of the ones which in my younger years was so important to me. But WrestleMania 3... if not purely just for Ricky Steamboat versus Randy Savage for the Intercontinental title.
Yeah.
A match that I just watched because everyone's saying how good it is. I'm like, how good can it be? Oh my God.
It's
I don't
so
know.
good.
I think just as a match, it left such an impression for me as someone who had basically only known the Attitude Era. To see a match in that kind of time period, which honestly, those two were operating on a different level completely.
Yeah.
I know lots of people talk about Hogan and Andre, and like going back on it, I'm like, I understand the importance of it.
Yeah,
even though it's not the kind of the thing that I am that crazy about. And like honestly, the rest of the matches, most of them are like 5-minute joints.
Yeah.
There's not really a whole lot in there to be interested by. Heart Foundation versus the British Bulldogs, though, was also very good.
Yes.
But no, the Steamboat versus Savage just left such an impression on me.
Yeah.
when I was younger, and that kind of retains through now to today. I mean, it's part of why I hold Randy Savage in such high regard.
Same thing for me, like for both Steamboat and Savage, why they rate highly as some of my favourite wrestlers of all time.
But no, for the sake of this one, as 24's already been mentioned, I feel like I want to give someone else the joy of talking about WrestleMania 23, because I've spoken about WrestleMania 23 so many damn times.
Yay! There we are, WrestleMania 23. The surprisingly good one, if a little freaking nuts.
Yeah, like, it's absolutely insane, but someone else can talk about WrestleMania 23. I've spoken about WrestleMania 23, enough.
Darn right. All right, look, before we get into the into worst, I actually want to give only one a little bit of a shout out to WrestleMania 22, because that one had the best theme song of all time, because you cannot top Peter Gabriel.
Peter Gabriel did What?
Peter Gabriel, WrestleMania 22.
Yep.
No, I know, but I'm like, what world do I live in where that's an actual fact?
It's called wrestling.
Yeah, I know, but even for wrestling, what a fact.
Yeah, I look at kind of the WrestleManias. I don't know. So the one I want to give a shout out to is WrestleMania 20.
Yes.
WrestleMania XX, if you will.
Yes. I still am very much of the ilk of they really should go back to Madison Square Garden in the tens when they
basically for every single 10 they should just go back to MSG.
It doesn't matter whether it's only a 20,000 capacity stadium. I just think the look of WrestleMania in MSG has always been freaking iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this WrestleMania just had. I mean, like, again, there's kind of lots of matches that are kind of absolute washes, like Goldberg versus Lesnar.
Mm-hmm.
But there's to be honest, there's quite a lot in this WrestleMania that's worth checking out, like Christian versus Chris Jericho. Arguably John Cena versus Big Show.
Yeah, good. It was a solid opener.
The first, is that the first John Cena
lifts the United States title?
Yeah, that's the first time we get the John Cena lift someone really big spot.
Yep.
Evolution versus Rock and Sock Connection.
A great handicap match, and honestly, I feel like that was up there as one of Mick Foley's best matches.
My sleeper match of this Mania, and please go and read the story about this match happening: Victoria versus Molly Holly.
Yes.
If you know the story about this, which is that Molly Holly said that she is willing to do a hair versus hair match just to get the women's title on Mania.
Yeah,
adds so much to this.
Molly Holly, there is. Thank you, because you are.
Shout out to Molly goddamn Holly.
It's well deserved your Hall of Fame entry, because you
absolutely.
are just a bloody amazing individual.
Just the best.
But to talk about the most important thing out of this, mate, it's Eddie versus Kurt.
Yeah.
It's two genuine magicians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way else to really describe it, because, again, the two of them working on a completely different level.
Yeah.
And there's so much. There's so much fineness to it, with like how Kurt's obviously working the ankle, and then Eddie adjusting his boot to then like that having an impact, so that Eddie can't really go for the frog splash, to then it changing up with like Kurt being aware of the kind of stuff Eddie's going to pull and trying to counter that, and then both trading Germans around, and it's just so much. It's like 20 minutes of like arguable wrestling perfection.
Yeah.
Those two guys just reaching enlightenment straight up.
I mean, I know a lot of people talk about Angle versus Shawn Michaels from the next year's Mania, but no, this is my favourite Kurt Angle WrestleMania match.
It's I'm on the Shawn Michaels Kurt Angle track
for
of
obvious
things.
Reasons.
Oh yeah,
because I think it's because my brain still thinks that that Shawn Michaels is almost going to tap out.
Yeah.
To this day, I think that he's just like forever in an ankle lock, almost tapping out, but we're never quite sure. And when he eventually taps out, that's when the end of the world happens.
Yes.
But in all seriousness, that match is just unbelievable.
Yeah, and of course that Mania also gave us the return of the Dead Man Taker. That was a great moment. And I watched this live because this was funny on Sky Sports, not on Sky Box Office. So I stayed up and watched it.
Oh, you bastards.
And I had to go to school the next day, so, you know.
Oof.
Yeah, that's always the joy of being a young wrestling fan in the UK.
Indeed. All right, then. With all the good comes the bad, and of course, we got to talk about the bad. And I'm going to start with WrestleMania 9 because
so we were going to get there. I knew it was going to happen.
And I'm sorry. Aesthetically, the look of it is tremendous. I mean, even if you are doing it in Caesar Palace's car park, but still.
No, but even still, the set kind of went crazy.
It was great. I love the fact we get to see Jim Ross in a toga, Bobby Heenan riding in on a camel the wrong way. Just a sight to behold. Of course, we have the Lex Luger's entrance with all the mirrors when he was the narcissist Lex Luger. But then, of course, we get to two matches: Giant Gonzalez versus The Undertaker, which WWE, in a lot of video packages when they talked about the streak, are very good with scrubbing this one off the face of the earth.
It's kind of funny, like, the effort that they go to scrub this match, but then they still know they have to include it in the video package.
Yep.
Because, like, yeah, it's part of the streak, so they kind of have to include it, but they know that they shouldn't.
So, yeah, they only do, because really, all they ever do, and all I've ever seen them do for this match is just the entrance, and then kind of choking Giant Gonzalez, and that's it.
Because basically, right, like, the entrance is the best part of this match.
Yes.
After the Undertaker's entrance, which is amazing because he has a fucking Raven with him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Basically, it just devolves from there.
Now, Riordan, do you know of the finish to this match?
I do not, and I'm going to find out, and I'm going to be angry.
So, yes, it was a disqualification win to The Undertaker because, and I kid you not, Giant Gonzalez chloroformed The Undertaker.
Wow. That's all I can say. All I can say is wow.
Yeah. And then, of course, the main event of Bret Hart versus Yokozuna. Just kidding, Hulk Hogan wins, lol.
Like, I know we talk about how loose WWE is now with title matches and who can demand them, but literally the consequence of this is that Yokozuna beats Bret Hart, then Hogan just appears and is like, I have a title match now, Lamau.
And he had just had a tag match with his best mate Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
Like, literally nothing makes sense as to why Hogan was able to just demand a title match and have it.
Because he's Hulk Hogan.
This should have been the moment where they were like, oh shit, people need to take Yokozuna seriously. And then they're just like, Lamau, no, Hulk Hogan. There's a lot in this WrestleMania that I remember as well, because isn't it like the two longest matches are both like count outs?
Yep.
Or
yes,
like
they are.
count out for DQs.
Yes.
Because I know there's the one where I know there's the Shawn Michaels Tatanka match for the IC title, which ends in a count out, and it's like 20 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, huh.
Yeah, that's something.
Oh, there it is. It's Money Inc., which is Ted DiBiase and IRS, Erwin R. Shyster, which, by the way, still an amazing name.
Yes. It's an amazing pun.
Defeats Hulk Hogan and Brutus Beefcake by DQ, and the match was 18 minutes and 27 seconds long. Jesus Christ.
Again, it's because Hogan has to have the longest and best match, doesn't he?
Yeah,
the
calling that
longest
the
anyway.
best match is something.
The longest, anyway.
I mean, also as well, this is the one people always point to when they talk about Mr. Perfect, and like Mr. Perfect made Lex Luger look like he could have a decent match.
Yeah. He did.
Dude, Mr. Perfect was genuinely built different.
He really freaking was. The matches he had with Bret Hart were outstanding at this time. Alrighty then, Riordan. What is your nominee for worst WrestleMania?
Okay, my worst WrestleMania is, and I gotta find out which fucking one it is. God damn, man, what a clusterfuck. You know what? No, I'm going to. You find it out. What was the WrestleMania with Triple H versus Sting?
Oh, WrestleMania 31.
31. Yeah, that's the one. What you mean
the one where WWE couldn't get over like a 20-year-old grudge?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God! Looking at the actual match card, yeah, this is the one I hated the most. This is it. Yeah. This is the one. With God, love it, man.
Yeah.
I'm just going to talk about this.
The one where Rusev came out in a tank.
Yeah, no. Rusev had the greatest entrance of all time. He did come out in a tank, which
he
was fucking
did.
Awesome.
He did, but this is the one where this is the WrestleMania of WWE just not letting go in general.
Oh God, yeah.
Because look at this match card. Look at it.
I will say though, for this one, the highlight of this Mania is 100% the IC title ladder match.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Which kind of puts you in a lull, in a false sense of security, and then just oh God.
No, I know what you mean, but the whole not letting go, not only because of the whole.
The
WCW thing.
Yeah, not only because of the WCW thing, which, oh God, I hate that match so much. It's like you get 5 minutes of an actual match, and then it's just like, how long is this goddamn thing? Yeah, it's like 5 minutes, and then the rest of it, of an 18-minute match, is just run-ins.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so bad.
I'm also going to bring up the whole Rock Triple H promo, which I was not a big fan of, if I'm honest, because it's just that whole circle jerking thing of the authority and Stephanie having to be the most over by putting people down, slapping them in the face. What is it with the booking of Stephanie being the queen bitch and having to get one up on everyone? I'm sorry, I'm just putting it out there.
Because now I'm thinking about it as well, and I'm thinking like they had to do the whole thing where they had like DX appear and then have the NWO appear as well for like, no discernible real reason.
It's just
and of course everyone knows Sting should have won that match. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are, Vince. I don't care that he's your son-in-law.
No reason for Sting to lose that match.
Sting should have won that match.
Sting should. I know that he retires straight after. So maybe that's why, but Sting should have just won that match. It's just a terrible match. It's a match that just kind of like it's a match that there have been bad matches in WrestleMania that I've seen. This is the only match where I was actively pissed off.
Yeah.
I don't like that match.
I guess at least the only redeeming quality this Mania had one of the greatest cash-ins for the Money in the Bank.
Yes. Yeah, it saves a bad WrestleMania.
And and I thought this wasn't going to happen at this Mania because this was the time where Seth Rollins had that little bit of controversy where he got his tallywhacker out on the internet.
Yes, but they still did it.
But they still did it.
Yeah, still did it. It also has like after the end of the streak the year before, a quite bad Taker WrestleMania match
with Wyatt, yeah,
which
should have been good. It
should have been good on paper. This should have been a match where, like, Wyatt wins, Undertaker just retired, done.
Yeah, but
that's kind of the general thing that we expressed when we were Bray Wyatt.
It just didn't happen.
It made sense at that point.
Yeah. So Dan,
I'm just looking at this match card now, and I don't remember that. Randy Orton versus beat Seth Rollins with Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury at ringside.
I believe that was the very famous curb stomp into RKO spot.
Yes, which is of a bad WrestleMania. I love that spot.
And you can remember Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury being there.
J&J Security, if you remember, part of the Authority.
Yeah, that's right. God.
For more info, check out Brian Zane's video on the Authority.
Yep, check that out. But yeah, this would be the WrestleMania for me.
And you know what? I kind of tend to agree with you on that one, Riordan.
Yeah?
No, I'd agree with you on that one. Dan, what is your worst WrestleMania?
My worst WrestleMania? I'm going back into the annals again.
Oh gosh, here we go.
It's WrestleMania 2.
Yes. Oh gosh, yeah, this was an absolute mess.
This is just a spread of bad.
It's an absolute mess of a mania. Now the concept was that they were going to broadcast WrestleMania from 3 different locations: New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago, if memory serves me correct. But apparently the whole time they had so many issues with the audio, with the feeds coming from all 3 arenas, to just the match cards in general were a bit of a mess because they were kind of hokily put together. This Mania was the boxing match between Mr. T and Roddy Piper.
13 minutes, by the way.
Yeah, that lasted. We had the Battle Royale, which saw not only WWF wrestlers, but also NFL players in there as well. We had Randy Savage defeating George Steele for the Intercontinental Championship. No one remembers that one. No, the main event being, of course, Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy in a cage match.
Yeah, because that's what everyone wants. Oh no, because obviously the most egregious one for me is the Fabulous Moolah beating Velvet McIntyre in 1 minute.
Yeah.
Which, given the context of everything around Moolah, it's totally understandable of why it would happen. It's even worse in retrospect.
Absolutely.
There's just so many random matches just strewn throughout this card. Magnificent Morocco with Mr. Fuji and Paul Orndorff go double count out in a singles match. Jake Roberts versus George Wells in 3 minutes 15. Corporal Kirchner versus Nikolai Volkov with Freddie Blassie in a flag match in 2 minutes.
Oh, I forgot about Corporal Kirchner.
The British Bulldog beat the Dream Team in 13 minutes.
Oh, by the way, British Bulldogs were accompanied to the ring.
Lou Albano and Ozzy Osbourne.
Ozzy Osbourne.
Ricky Steamboat defeats Hercules Hernandez in 7 minutes.
Adrian Adonis defeating Uncle Elmer as well.
Because, the arguable, I'm throwing air quotes up here, best match is either Hogan and Bundy or the Funks beat JYD and Tito Santana.
A lot of people tend to forget that Dory and Terry were in WrestleMania 2, accompanied by Jimmy Hart of all people as well. But of course, I forgot the one big, I guess you could say the big draw that they got for this WrestleMania was that Mr. T had Mr. T's ringside trainer during that boxing match was smoking Joe Frazier.
There's just so much with this event that just
this is a lot. This is
genuinely the jumping the shark moment.
Yeah, and that was the second WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they didn't do that. I think Vince learned his lesson very quickly.
I know that I'm looking at this in retrospect, and I'm by the time I was looking at this and finding out that this happened, I'm looking at this in the context of almost 24 WrestleManias had happened.
Yeah.
They obviously had time to refine the craft.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just that thing of they tried so much and just none of it worked. And this is again to say it's not like WrestleMania 1 was particularly incredible.
Yeah.
In retrospect, but it was they went from a low point and were well, how do we just take this 90 times higher for no reason?
Oh, agreed. Alrighty then. So, special mentions for me in terms of worst ones goes to WrestleMania 11, of course, for obvious reasons. That main event really shouldn't have been the main event, but, we got what we were given with Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam Bigelow. And WrestleMania 27. Like I really have not been a big fan of that WrestleMania. Not because The Rock was the host. It was great to see The Rock back after so long in the WWE, but this one had a lot of stinkers. We had Michael Cole versus Jerry Lawler.
Please
We had
about that.
We had the Great Khali defeating Sheamus in a Battle Royal. We had, for some reason, a lumberjack match, which was the dark match of Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan for the US Championship, which ended in a no contest. We had... Oh, and I'll get onto the worst match. I'll get onto this when it comes to, I guess, the worst match. I'll savor it. The penultimate match is my personal worst match. But the main event of The Miz versus John Cena, I know a lot of people don't.
It didn't hit.
It just didn't fit, and I know a lot of people like to rag on The Miz, but I just feel for The Miz, it wasn't the right time or the right place for him to be to be champion in a Mania. If anything, I think it should have been CM Punk versus John Cena for the WWE Championship. You know, the best bad guy versus the best good guy of the company at that time for the Mania. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of this WrestleMania in any way, shape, or form at all. Alrighty. We're going to do a quick fire one on favourite celebrities as well. So I'm pretty much going to say it out here right now. Floyd Mayweather and Lawrence Taylor, who put on two of the best, I guess, celebrity matches that you could think of. I mean, I will say Lawrence Taylor for this one, because he didn't do too bad, per se. He shouldn't have been in the main event of WrestleMania, though. That's the thing.
No, he shouldn't have been.
But no, that Floyd Mayweather is up there, one of my favourite celebrities to be in a WrestleMania, for sure. I'm guessing that's the same for you two as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it pretty much is. I mean, this is probably an aside one, but I want to give a shout out to Snoop Dogg at WrestleMania. I mean, he's appeared at like 4 now at this point, but I just kind of like the way seeing him, especially when he did Bianca Belair's music.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was pretty cool.
Ooh,
Yes,
right.
I don't know if there's anyone else in terms of specific celebrity involvement. Like, obviously, we had Mr. T, who was there for 2 WrestleManias.
Yeah, I just choked on my water. Don't mind me, really. But yeah, I mean, Mr. T, he's definitely an important part of that. I mean, I will still say that Cyndi Lauper is a massive important part of the first WrestleMania, but you know,
Absolutely.
Cyndi Lauper for the Hall of Fame. But yeah,
Join the movement. Join the movement.
Join the movement.
But no, Floyd Mayweather's definitely up there as my personal favourite celebrity in all of WrestleManias. Alrighty then, the 2 big ones we're going to be talking about: favourite and worst matches. Now, I've got a whole smorgasbord of favourite matches I have for this one. So I'm going to just narrow it down to 3 for myself. And I'm going to start with the Rock Austin trilogy of matches. My personal favourite one being, honestly, their best one at WrestleMania 19. This one, again, these matches are so good because these two, again, with the first 2, the 2 biggest stars of the company. Absolutely, you know, going out there and putting on an absolute amazing show. Those 2 worked so well together, especially in the context of a big WrestleMania style match. This third one is this is almost like, right, we're out of the Attitude Era now. This is like the passing of the torch of our kind of era. This is where we put the final kind of like flagpole down into the ground and say, this is the end of us here in this company and our kind of like story, our fable that is intertwined ever since 1997. And of course, this would be Steve Austin's very last match as well. Austin, he himself admitted that he had been kind of on borrowed time for a very long time at this point, and was like, yeah, like I mean, I've talked about doing a few matches here and there, but no, this tomorrow's it. When he was having a sit-down interview with someone talking about WrestleMania the day after, but no, he said, yeah, WrestleMania 19's it. I cannot go on. My body, my heart says yes, my head says yes, but my body is like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, that's fair. And
they put on a great match, and I think a very emotional filled match as well. If you catch the end of that match, you can see after Rock wins that he's kind of talking to Austin in the middle ring. It looks like he's trash talking to him. But Austin later revealed that he said, "Thank you so much for that and for everything you do. I love you, pal." And Austin went, "I love you too, Rock." Oh, Dwayne, I should say. And then they both kind of went off, and Austin went out into the sunset. And fair play to him, he hasn't returned since.
Yeah, fair play. Honestly,
he doesn't have Terry Funk syndrome.
Yeah, in all honesty, very much fair play to him.
He went on, appeared in a couple films.
The Condemned is not a bad WWE film. The Expendables role that he had was awesome as well.
He had a role in The Expendables. He now did the Broken Skull podcast and Broken Skull sessions. He's vibing.
He's doing all right for himself. He's got his own beer as well, so he's absolutely fine. Oh, God, sorry.
Just reminding me, I need to get to that.
I was actually going to say, for those of you on our Twitter, please tell us, how is that beer?
Yeah, what is Broken Skull IPA like? Like, a Texan with an Indian Pale Ale must be. That's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, I like IPAs, so...
Yeah. I mean, because frankly, I just want to know, so if it's bad, I can cry, because, of all people, Stone Cold...
Well, IPAs are a very particular taste. Like, you have to kind of be... if you either like it or you don't, really.
Indeed. I mean, I wouldn't know because I don't drink beer, but I digress.
Yeah, but it's all right though, because then, when we get together and do stuff, when we can be in a space together, guys.
You could have the beer. I'll have the milk, like Kurt Angle did.
You can get me and Riordan to do a taste test video of wrestler inspired drinks, although we're not buying the WWE wine.
All right, I'll try and get the Roddy Piper bubblegum soda as well. Then, alrighty. Riordan.
Shout out to the brewery that does loads of wrestling themed beers, though. Because after we did the Mick Foley one, they linked me to their Milk Foley Stout.
That is so fun. That is an amazing.
It comes in a flannel checkerboard can.
That is so freaking cool. Riordan, then, what is one of your favorite WrestleMania matches?
Oh, God, okay. The annoying thing about my WrestleMania picks, off the top of my head, is that they're all Shawn Michaels.
Fair enough, because he has...
Vibe with it. Let's go.
He's Mr. WrestleMania. Come on.
All right, you know what? Considering that, we are named after the Heartbreak Kid himself.
Yeah.
I will take that note and go for my favorite Shawn Michaels matches.
Yes.
So, of course... Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair, masterclass.
Yep.
Angle, masterclass. Now, the hard part with the Undertaker matches is which one?
Yeah. It's so freaking tough.
So difficult.
I mean, I've already given my pick before in 2 previous episodes, so...
Yeah. I will say the build-up to it is better. Objectively, I will say objectively better. So it has to be Streak versus Career.
Yeah.
Just because the build up is better. With one, it's just I want to fight. Yeah, all right. Basically.
Admittedly, though, 25 has the best entrances of all time.
Yes.
Taker's one.
Yes.
Michael's appearing from the sky as a pillar of an angel.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I will always have that. But yeah, no, I will go for 2 as my favorite, and as a match that he is in but does not fight in, it has to be the End of an Era Hell in a Cell.
Yeah,
a match which I am astounded there is no blading, and yet feels like there is.
For all 3 of them being in that ring, you would have thought, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you think there would have been blading up the wazoo, but apparently there isn't. And having one of my favorites, no, I really mean it this time. I'm going to hit him with the sledgehammer moments.
Finally.
Oh, man, so...
Oh, no, something about the way Triple H hits people with the sledgehammer always made me laugh.
It always made me laugh, because I understand.
The hand covering the hammer. Bonk.
Yeah, and he just does it.
Powers up his punches, though.
Yeah, it powers up his punches. But that moment of him going, no, I'm measuring up to literally crush his head with this hammer never ends to be hype for me.
Fair play, man. Fair play. Dan, some of your favourite WrestleMania matches.
So I feel like obviously the first one has to be Daniel Bryan versus Batista versus Randy Orton at 30. Because that is pretty much like the most accurate way to sum up a match involving Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
Where it is generally the entire universe against him.
Yes.
Yeah.
And him just slowly pulling through to like make it through to the end.
Oh yeah, I love that match so much.
Yeah. Real quick on that same real quick on that same vent, just because I've talked to it about before, the Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston.
I was going to bring that up.
As the only match as of this recording. Well, one of two matches that has made me cry. The other one being Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels. There's only been two matches.
That match was truly outstanding, and I mean, we did a whole episode on Kofi Mania. So
we did a whole episode on Kofi Mania. So I just wanted to make that clear that no, I have not forgotten about it.
No, we haven't forgotten about that match at all. And again, that sits up there in the pantheon because I genuinely almost cried.
Yeah.
When Kofi.
Yes.
So Rey Mysterio beats Randy Orton and Kurt Angle at 22. Just because, again, for me, it was like, oh my god, this person who I've looked up to and idolized has finally gotten there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like, so for me, being a shorter person, like, I always just loved Rey Mysterio because I was like, he's like me.
Yes. That is his entire thing. I could be Rey Mysterio. No, I could not.
Yeah, I know I couldn't be with my knees.
Pray always to Jesus.
Yeah. Again, gonna throw back to the WrestleMania I've watched the most in my life, WrestleMania 23, Undertaker versus Batista.
Yes.
Oh, what a match.
So damn good.
What a match. His greatest opponent. Don't at me.
No, like the thing is that, like, genuinely, I look at that match and it's just it is possibly the best Undertaker match at WrestleMania outside of Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
If there's a better one, I need to watch it.
But then I guess the one for me, I know we spoke about TLC 1 before, but the Triangle Ladder match at WrestleMania 2000, just because that match left such an indelible mark on me.
And I think a lot of people as well, whether you were watching it live or you're watching it after the fact.
I think it's just acknowledging the craziness of what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
And again, it's obviously worth saying that this was stuff that had been done before elsewhere, but had never been on this stage and scale before. And I don't know, there's like little bits about it, like knowing that Devon's terrified of heights.
Yeah. I couldn't believe when I watched that. There's that little watch through interview with him and Jeff Hardy watching that match. Him saying that he's scared of heights made me want to buy that man a drink forever.
Yeah.
And then stuff about like Matt talking about it afterwards, being like, yeah, if I had known that match would have been successful and we'd have kept doing it, I would have stopped doing the leg drop.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
To just stuff like Edge and Christian being there and saying, like, well, it was kind of crazy for us because we'd never really done anything like this before. Whereas, like, the Hardy Boys had been working in, like, you know, like their own home indie promotions in like, North Carolina, and the Dudley Boys had been in ECW. For Edge and Christian, they're like, yeah, we mostly brought up on just kind of straight singles wrestling. For us to go into like climbing up ladders and trying to figure out innovative stuff to do with that, it was like crazy to them.
Yeah.
There's a couple of great little cool moments from that interview, which I do recommend. WWE has it when they're talking about that.
Do. Go check it out. I think maybe in that one they're talking about TLC 2.
I forget which one, but
I it's not the one at SummerSlam. But either way, it's still applicable, and knowing that fact just makes it hilarious.
Yeah. It's just with Devon saying, Jeff, if you love me, you will stop kicking me.
No, a truly outstanding match, and it to this day still stands the test of time as a terrific.
It really does.
Match. I'll tell you another match, and possibly my favourite Mania match that really does stand the test of time as well, is Bret Hart versus Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13, the submission match.
Arguably,
Yes.
match.
The greatest double turn in wrestling history, if you ask me, as well. So, with Ken Shamrock as the referee as well.
I feel like people forget that fact. I mean, it's easy to forget it in amongst the rest of the match, but...
Yeah. Oh, man. Terrific spot after terrific spot. Like, great use of the ring, putting a figure four leg lock around the ring post as well, and Austin gushing so much blood, and that famous image of Austin screaming, blood all over his face as he's locked in the sharpshooter and passes out rather than passes out from the pain is like, oh, if you really wanted to solidify, right, this guy is going to be the future of our company, even though we brought him in to just be kind of like a journeyman wrestler to kind of fill the mid-card, you had it in that one match alone.
Yeah.
I don't know, this is a side thing for me, but rewatching that match made me realise something. No one does the decapitator spot anymore.
No.
Mm.
No.
I don't know if that's a thing where like wrestlers' tastes have changed, but I never see it anymore, and I feel like someone should bring it back. Specifically as well, the Bret Hart version, where rather than just slingshotting them, they just keep hold of it.
Yes.
Oh no. I personally love that spot.
So good. Oh man, I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again because I just watched it this morning, talking about it, and I was like, I really want to watch that match again. Alrighty then, I am going to go now into worst matches, and I'm going to just say one word for the worst match: Snooki. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
moving
going
on.
for that match.
That match is terrible.
I believe it was. Oh god, was it Trish Stratus that took like the arguable death fall?
Yes. It was John Morrison, Snooki.
Really awkward bump.
It was John Morrison, Trish Stratus, and Snooki versus.
It was Laycool and Vicky Guerrero, I believe.
Yes, and Dolph Ziggler, wasn't it, as well?
Dolph Ziggler was there because
yeah.
Vicky Guerrero was his manager at that point.
Yeah. Oh. Terrible match. It's just so terrible. And you know what? I mean, there's John Morrison looked very pissed at the end of that match, mostly because he didn't really want to work with Trish Stratus. He was more kind of like, well, why couldn't you put Melina in this role? Because I believe they were still together at this point.
They were at that point.
So yeah, John Morrison was a little bit miffed off on that point, and you could see it right at the end of that match.
Because there's obviously the moment where they all try and hug together, and then John Morrison's like, "Nah, none of that, please."
Another match I'm going to bring up as worst match is Roddy Piper versus Bad News Brown at WrestleMania 6, and you know what? For obvious reasons, I mean, like I know it was to generate heat, but to paint yourself half black is just not. No, that ain't it, Chief. That ain't it. I mean, I love your Piper, but that was just not a good move at all. There's no forgiving that sort of thing, if you ask me.
It's just a big old no.
Because even when I was a kid and I watched that for the first time when I first watched WrestleMania 6, I was like, that just don't look or seem right.
And you were correct.
I'm glad I was correct, Riordan.
Yeah.
So, Riordan, what is your worst WrestleMania match?
I've already said it. I just genuinely despise Triple H versus Sting.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Is it because it came down to being just WWE versus WCW, ultimately? When it could have been so
bad
much more.
version of that.
Yeah.
It could have been so much more. You finally had him. You could have been Taker.
Everyone wanted him versus Taker.
I think the big thing for everyone is like it should have been Sting versus Taker, really. But then Triple H just let me just come in and then just not move past this grudge that we've held for like 20 plus years at this point.
A grudge which you won, by the way.
And you can't seem to keep taking concepts from Triple H. Funny that, isn't it?
No, because like the thing is, like Triple H has like actually has respect for WCW and wants to use their stuff. He's like, hey, this is really cool because it's like the whole thing around the formation of Elimination Chamber because Triple H just wanted war games.
Yeah,
it's just like
I want my own thing. He said, "Damn it." But no, Dan. Then I will move over to you and your worst match in WrestleMania?
Yeah, so obviously I mentioned the Fabulous Moolah versus Wendy Richter
Yeah.
from like WrestleMania 2, which is like awful.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as well because Wendy Richter got the title like 6 days later, then held it for 6 days and lost it again.
Yeah, I believe, which was a screw job as well, I believe.
Pretty much. And then, hey, here it is again. Terry Runnels versus the Cat with Fabulous Moolah and Mae Young at WrestleMania 2000.
No, not the only singles match from WrestleMania 2000.
Which is, again, like, just god-awful. This is going to be a really random one because I imagine, like, no one will remember this aside from, like, a specific subsection of people, but genuinely, in my mind, the worst WrestleMania match of all time, disregarding Hulk Hogan versus Yokozuna. Because I feel like it's impossible to even quantify that as a match.
Fair.
I'm going to go for Owen Hart versus Skinner.
Oh, crumbs, yes.
Oh, boy.
Which is a match that goes like 1.5 minutes. It serves literally no purpose.
Yep.
And it did literally nothing for anyone.
Not at all.
It is genuinely the most nothing match of all time.
That I cannot argue with.
Yeah. I want to give a special shout out for worst matches to every Playboy-themed match.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Without question.
That just...
Yeah, that's obvious. That's obviously up there as well. Oh, God, I'm trying to remember which one it was. It was...
Was it 20 when Taz stabbed Michael Cole with his pencil as he was getting excited?
I think it was it Tori Wilson versus Candice Michelle for the WWF Women's title? I believe at like WrestleMania 20 or
22, I believe. Yeah, that one was terrible. That one was genuinely terrible.
Also, I can't remember which one exactly it was. It was Booker T and Sharmell versus the Boogeyman.
That's WrestleMania 22 as well.
That's WrestleMania 22 as well. That match was something.
That match is definitely something. Oh, man. Alrighty then. Okay, so the final thing to wrap this up is, what do we think of today's current WrestleMania? And for me, I personally feel like it's become... well, not just the event itself, but the week surrounding it. It really has become the Edinburgh Fringe of pro wrestling. And that's a great thing, if you ask me.
Wow, I can't argue with it, but what a description.
I mean, because the amount of eclectic shows that happen during the week that has been for the past few years has been amazing. We have the Collective, which has had Joey Janela's Spring Break, which gave us the rise and the rise of PCO when he had that match with Volta. We had Bloodsport, which has now become one of my favourite annual things during Mania week. We have Effie's Big Gay Brunch, which is the most amazing thing if you've ever seen it. And gave us one of my personal favourite tweets from Nick Gage when Effie had booked Razor Ramon Hard Gay to be in a Big Gay Brunch, and Nick Gage tweeted, "That don't look like Razor Ramon."
It's the follow-up tweet as well, and what is Hard Gay? The best Nick Gage one for me from around that time was when they announced him for the Battle Royale.
Yeah,
yes. I think it was the Bisexual Battle Royale that it was called, and then Nick Gage was just like, "Effie, I think I missed something. We need to speak." Love this man so much.
And that wouldn't be possible without kind of how much of a great event of wrestling WrestleMania week has become. So honestly,
yeah, I mean, again, you do in that same breath, we now have For the Culture.
Oh, For the Culture is a great event for WrestleMania
which is
week.
Amazing. Alley Cat this year just started up real hot girl shit.
Oh no, yeah, seriously, this year's For the Culture was a absolute stat card, and Riordan seriously go out of your way to try and see if you can watch Rich Swann versus Too Cold Scorpio. Like, it's outstanding.
Like, the running thing now for the culture is it's Too Cold Scorpio versus every wrestler he's ever inspired.
Yep.
And it's genuinely incredible.
That sounds amazing. Send me a link.
It's like each year it happens, it's like Too Cold Scorpio versus another black high flyer.
Yeah,
it's honestly amazing.
It's so good. But yeah, like for me, WrestleMania, regardless of how you think of the actual event itself has become a really great little mini festival / love letter to why we love wrestling in the first place. I don't know. What about you, chaps? What do you think WrestleMania today is all about?
I think for me, especially as we've gone, recently, and it's kind of become like a 2-day thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the nature of WrestleMania is that it has become much more of I guess you'd say it's more of an entertainment spectacle than it is a wrestling event at this point.
Yeah, I would say so.
Agreed.
Because like, there's a whole bunch to it, which is just like the whole thing of putting everything together, and like, I've been there and decried like the Manias before, the recent ones where it was like 7 hours long, and it was just never going to work out as like a reasonable format because no one's going to be able to sit there for 7 hours.
Yep.
Whether or not you're in the crowd or you're at home, like at one point you're just going to get tired of it. And even still, I don't even know if I'm still overly hot on the idea of a 2-day long WrestleMania. Especially given that before WrestleMania was like 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
So having so much stuff to go on, keep going through is like really good. But of course, I know what it is. It's like with WWE, they've got so many titles and everything's so kind of, I dare say, almost bloated out now.
Yeah.
That they kind of have to find a way of packing everyone into that space.
Everyone's got to get that payday somehow.
Yeah.
No, like I said, I think now it's so much more of an entertainment spectacle than a wrestling event, where it's just a time where they are able to basically, again, just showcase themselves at their biggest and their boldest.
Absolutely.
As I said, you can really get away with doing pretty much anything. Whatever you decide to put together, as long as it works and it's coherent and it fits into the, the scheme of how feuds have been going down, stuff like that. And that's kind of been like my issue with like this year's WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Most of the build has been pretty weak.
Oh yeah.
I think we could all agree on that one for darn sure.
Yeah, I think we can.
It doesn't change the fact that I'm not excited for WrestleMania.
Yeah. Exactly.
Even if I am going to be catching up on it the next day.
Yeah.
Because I'm not staying up for it.
That's for darn sure. I mean, I know the general consensus for this year is that I think, from what I've heard, a lot of the backroom staff are like, we want to keep it condensed to 3 hours. Like, that's their main goal for both nights, for sure. But we'll see how that pans out, for sure. Riordan.
I think WrestleMania for me is interesting now. And I watch it and I keep up for it for basically it gives you the closest that I can gather from like, it's the closest you can get to seeing what does WWE think the future is going to look like.
John Cena.
and I was about to add, and being disappointed by the result often.
Yeah.
That's understandable, to be honest.
Yeah, I kind of see it's like, what do they think? What do they think it's gonna be? And which is to be honest, I think perhaps is a bad way of looking at it, because when you're like, if you're disappointed or even angry of how things are going out, WrestleMania can sometimes just be like, it can sully it quite a bit if you have that attitude towards it. So I put my hand up as to maybe that's not the best attitude going at, but it's just fascinating on who do we think is going to get the nod.
Yeah,
that's what it is for me. Very much,
and it all being thoroughly disappointed. And that's a way to end this very long episode all about wrestling. We've gone for 6 hours, gentlemen. I don't know how we survived with this episode.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You see, at the end, people were just listening out of reluctance.
Exactly.
Yes.
And find out that I'll low blow both Dan and and Riordan in a sneaky Japanese way, hey, because that's the only way you can get a Japanese wrestler over Vince.
Why are you getting us cancelled?
Nah, it's okay. We're good. Don't worry.
That concludes this episode all on WrestleMania. Thoughts, chaps? I guess the question is, are we excited for tonight and tomorrow?
I hope, as always, WrestleMania is good.
Yeah,
I am all here for it.
I hope
even if I'm not excited enough to actually stay awake for it, I am excited for the next day when I wake up and choose not to do job applications and watch WrestleMania instead.
Exactly. My hope is we have one good match and we have one sleeper hit. By the way, one sleeper hit from last year, that triple threat tag team match.
Yeah.
That was great. I know me and Riordan
want
talked
Sasha
about
Banks
that.
and Bianca Belair to just go absolutely brazy with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
As it should. As it darn well should. Alrighty then. Next episode, we have a very kind of unique one that we haven't done for we haven't done on this podcast. It's a who's who, and we're going to talk about the British independent scene. A who's who you should be watching, who you should be looking out for, and what companies you should be watching. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, we're going to be joined by a special guest on that episode.
Yes, we will be. We'll be joined by Shane Natras, also known as Dave Natras, a British independent wrestler over 20 years of experience, and he's looking forward to joining us and talking about the British independent scene.
It has, of course, we want to give it a bit of more of a positive light, because there have been a lot of good things that have come out of the British indie scene, and of course a lot more positive change that is definitely happening after speaking out. And we want to definitely shine the light on the good side. We want to give
those companies and those people who have helped entertain us, and help show the positive side, and the great talent that is in the British independent scene right now that people really should be paying attention to.
Yeah, if they're wrestling in this country and if they've gone overseas for excursions as well, there are a lot of really good guys and gals that are in the wrestling scene at the moment. And this episode, I get to shout about Riptide as well. So
shout out Riptide! I'll be getting myself down there after the pandemic's done.
Yes, Riptide. We will be coming to one of your shows, because I've been so excited to try and get back and at least go to one Riptide show since all of this began. Anyway, until next week, I have been Sam. This has been Dan and Riordan, and we will see you all on the next episode. You have a lovely WrestleMania, everybody. We'll see how it turns out when we upload this on Monday. Bye.
Mania.